Let me emphasize that underlying most fear is the fear of helplessness, of being victimized, or being blown around by the winds of fate like a leaf is blown off a tree. But is that really a legitimate way of looking at things? To me, it sounds like being afraid of the dark, in which case the best thing to do is to get yourself up, out of bed, and switch on the light. After all, the people who built this country didn't feel helpless when they faced obstacles that we can hardly even imagine today. I'm not saying we should all just gather around the campfire and tell stories about George Washington, but we should realize that every generation has faced insecurities and lived with them and triumphed over them. It's only in the past 50 years or so people have come to expect a life without real tough times and real difficulties. But adversity isn't something to fear, it's something to expect, something to prepare for, and something to overcome. The truly courageous person is not immune to fear, but it plays a different role in his or her life than it does for other people. If you're a courageous person, your fears aren't about what someone might do to you or something that might happen to you. Your fears are about not living up to your ideals, about reacting instead of acting, about not taking advantage of the opportunities that are always within reach.
I want you to not see jets and houses and Ferraris and videos when you look at me. I want you to see who I really am. Here's who I really am. I'm the son of an alcoholic who's been sober a long time. I come from a wonderful, beautiful family, but a dysfunctional family, like some of you come from. I come from lower middle class upbringing. I'm an incredibly shy and insecure person naturally. I'm the type of guy that if I saw you from high school when we were at the mall, as much as I'd love to reconnect with you, to this day, I would duck into a store and hide so we don't have that interaction. Yet I speak in front of millions of people. I know what it's like not to believe in yourself. I know what it's like to have doubt. I know what it's like to be backstage hoping you like what I talk about today, even though I've given hundreds of speeches just like this. Not the same content, but the same thing. So I tell you, when I tell you that I have respect for you, that I admire what you're trying to do with your life, I mean that sincerely. I know what it's like to want to change your life's conditions. I know what it's like to want to win for your family. And I know what it's like to not be totally sure you're going to do it. And I know what it's like to fake you can't make it until you do. Let me explain to you. That's actually not a Mercedes. Let me explain something to you, okay, about what I did when I started to become an entrepreneur. I did pretty well in the beginning, and then I went broke. I did pretty well, and then I went broke. I was humbled many times. The Lord has a way of guys with big egos like me, of humbling us over and over and over again until we figure out we need Him in our life if we're going to win long term. And I'm not here to preach at you, I'm just telling you what my personal story is, okay? And so I got to the point, my wife and I were so broke, not only did I lose my first home, foreclosed on, I was 6 months married. My wife had to go get a job because me as an entrepreneur, Mr. Stud here, Mr. $400 million, I couldn't even pay our bills. And the third day she had that job, she went out to the parking lot and said, babe, she came back in the morning. I was still asleep in bed and she had gotten up to go to work. She says, babe, it got worse. Our car was stolen. My family thinks I'm nuts. I had a decent job before all this. I've lost a house. Now I've lost the car stolen. Except it was worse than that. I found out 2 hours later it was not stolen, it was repossessed. A week after that, our power got turned off. A week after that, the worst thing you can have happen to you in terms of utilities happened. We got our water turned off. We went 2 months with no water. And here I am with my new bride, who I met when I was 5 years old, by the way. I promised her all our childhood I was going to make our dreams come true, and we were going to win, and we were going to live special, and I was going to be somebody, and she believed it. Finally marries me. Finds herself with a house foreclosed on, car repoed, power off, and now every morning we would get up because there was no running water. We couldn't cook, we couldn't shower or bathe. In the new apartment I moved her into, we would get up, gather our things, and go down to the pool, and there was a one outdoor shower there. And I'd hold a towel up as my new bride took her shower every single morning and brushed her teeth outside. And then she'd do it for me. And then we would walk back up the stairs, completely emasculated, completely shamed, and I'd send my wife out to her job as I tried to go win as an entrepreneur. So when I tell you I understand the journey and I admire and respect you, I may admire and respect you even at a level most people don't. I know what it's like to fail. And then once I started to turn it around, I wanted to win so bad, I was going to fake it till I made it. And I had a team of agents that was working with me in my practice, and everyone's ripping on me for my bad car. And I read an article in the Penny Saver. You guys remember the Penny Saver? Does that still exist? I don't even know. In the Penny Saver, and it said, Kit Car Mercedes. Kit Car Mercedes. And as I read a little further, it said, want to turn your Chrysler LeBaron into a Mercedes-Benz? I got one, $5,500. And I drove down, and I met this lady, and she had a car that was a Chrysler LeBaron where they stripped the frame off the car. And they Velcroed, listen to me, they Velcroed to the car the body of a Mercedes. You think I'm kidding? I'm gonna prove it to you in a minute. They Velcroed it. Now, the really good shitty kit cars were at least welded together. Mine was put together with Velcro. I paid her the $5,000. I rolled that car up to the office to my guys. I'm like, hey guys, we're balling. We're all gonna be wealthy. What do you think of my new Mercedes? 6 of them believed it. One of them who knew Mercedes is like, it looks a little longer, and why does it have a back seat? I'm like, well, I don't know if you've been reading. You have the little BS. It's not. I don't know if you've been reading, but Chrysler and Mercedes had just merged. This is the first hybrid car they've made. So the inside's a Chrysler, the outside's a Mercedes, but it's a Benz, man. My guy's like, oh, that sounds legit. Yeah, cool. The AC only blew out heat. I drove around. By the way, I would drive on the freeway, and people would be looking at me like, laughing at me. I'm like, hey, I think they think I'm cool in my cheap suit from Men's Warehouse, right? And let me tell you about this car. Just in case you don't believe me, just so you know, you can see here, Mercedes-Benz SL600 fiberglass full body kit for sale. You won't find one with Velcro, but you can find one welded together. Look at some of you getting ideas right now. That one, that's the LeBaron. That's my old car. That was my car. I drove that car for a year. Let me tell you what would happen when I pull up to a light. You want to know what I would pull up to a stoplight? I had to really slow down like about 50 feet in advance, because as I got closer and closer and closer to the light, if I had to stop short, the front headlight would fly off into the intersection. So literally probably 400 times in my life, I've gotten out of my vehicle at an intersection, walked out of the damn car, stopped traffic, grabbed my light, walked back to my damn car, and stuck it back on with Velcro and got in my vehicle. Well, everyone in the intersection is losing their damn minds. See, I was willing to do whatever it took to win as an entrepreneur. Little while after that, my best friend's a guy named Dan Charlier. He's an African-American guy. We had a retreat up in Lodi, California. We had to drive up there, and he said, Mylett, says, Eddie, there's no brothers in Lodi. I'm like, Charlier, stop with this race stuff. There's brothers in Lodi. No, dude, I'm telling you, I looked it up. There are no brothers in Lodi. And if you drive up there with me, some bad shit's gonna happen. Excuse my language. I'm like, you're crazy. It's all in your head, dude. Sure enough, we go up there. I bring my team with me for a business retreat just like this. All my agents, my whole office. The meeting ends. We got to drive back to the hotel. And I don't really know the way, so we're kind of intersecting through these vineyards. All of a sudden, whoop, lights behind me. Charlie goes, I told you, dude, you're driving with a brother in Lodi. I'm like, you out of your mind, dude. We pull over. And the cop does not get out of the car for a few minutes. He's shining that light right in my car. Remember this, my whole team's parked behind me down the road watching what happens here. This is an entrepreneur's journey. We'll get into the stuff, but you need to know this. So he's shining the light. All of a sudden, another car comes up, another cop car. There's 4 cop cars now. Guns are drawn. He walks up to my window and goes, stick your hands out of the car. I'm like, what did I do? He goes, stick your hands out of the car. I'm like, sir, okay. He opens the door. I get back. I get handcuffed. Charlier gets in. He goes, dude, I told you, brother, in Lodi. And we go sit back in the back of this police car, me and him. And they won't tell me what the hell I'm doing back there, but I know my team's back there going, freaking Mylett, always grabbing his nose. He's probably a cokehead. I always knew it, you know. He's always intense. Veins are always sticking out of his head. Finally, the police officer leans in. I said, sir, can you tell me what I'm being arrested for? He goes, I think we both know. I'm like, no, we both don't know. He goes, that's a stolen vehicle. I'm like, stolen vehicle? I said, sir, come back, come back. Finally, I'm kicking. Yeah, what? I said, you're not going to believe this. Did you run the plate? Yeah, man, it runs to a Benz, stolen car. Sir, you're not going to believe this. That's actually it's a Chrysler LeBaron, sir. I'm looking right at it. It's a Mercedes, man. I said, sir, if you go up and on the driver's side door, just pull on it real hard, it'll pop right off. It's Velcroed on there. You imagine what he goes, is this a DUI now? I'm like, no, sir, I'm telling you, the car is Velcroed together. Sure enough, he gets the other guys and we're in the back seat. No one on my team, all of them still think it's a Mercedes. And he walks up to the car and he looks at it. They're all looking at each other and he pulls my door right off. He goes, ah! The cops are falling. Spins my door on the top of his hand. The cops are falling out. My whole team sees my car is now Velcroed together and we are eventually allowed back into the vehicle. I tell you that story because I know what it's like to fake it till you make it. Let me tell you the cool thing. I'm a closer though. We got back to the hotel. There's a guy on my team named Rob Day. Rob goes, what the hell's up with the car? I go, look, dude, between me and you, it's one of these hybrid Mercedes things. You need to get one of these, dude. I'll sell it to you right now for what I'm into it. And he bought that car for me 2 days later. I relate to where you are. Some of you are too cool. You're like, well, I'm not like in that kind of a condition. Yes, you are. You're broke.